get something in my office. I'll be right down and then I'll get started, okay?
Of course.
Be right down.
Right. You said that helps as well. That's good. Yeah, that's all right. I'm gonna go sit down. I know, we don't have to do that. I'm not in front of the camera.
Please come and be seated so we can begin the Maariv service, so we can get to the annual meeting, because that's why we're all here, I know that. Please turn to page 624 as we begin the service. והוא רחום יכפר עוון ולא ישחית, והרבה להשיב אפו ולא יאר כל אמתו, אדוני הושיע המלך יעננו ויום קראנו. Please rise. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam. Orei Hotei Hasharim V'mitfanav min Hashanei Itim U'machalif et hazmanim Umsader et hakohavim B'mishmerotehem Barakia Kirtzono. Borei Yom V'Layla Le'omitnei Rosh Umavir Yom Umevi Laila Umavdil Ben Yom Uvein Laila Adonai Tzavaot Shemo El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Lo Halenu Le'olam Va'ed Baruch Ata Adonai Ama'ari Varavim. 626 Avat Olam Beit Yisrael Amchav Torah Mitzvot V'ahavatcha al tasir mimeno leolamim baruch ata Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Please continue individually to the bottom of 632. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור דבר בני ישראל למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. אמת ואמונה כל סוף וקיים עלינו כי הוא. ומחולתו ברצון קיבלו עליהם, משה ובני ישראל יכענו שירה בשמחה רבה ויאמרו כולם, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נצר בקודש, נורא תהילות עוצי פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה, זה אלינו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גואל ישראל. 636 השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו שלום ועמדנו מגנו. ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני שומר עמו ישראל לעד. 638 ברוך אדוני ביום ובלילה. כי המלכות שלך היא ומאה תמלוך בכבוד, כי אין לנו מלך אלא אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני המלך בכבודו, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד ועל כל מעשיו. הציקריש יקדל ויקדש שמי רבה, ויעמד דברה חירותי וימלך מלכותי, בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה ברכו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, זעמירם ביומה ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. קדיש עליהם 660. יגדל ויקדש שמי רבה, ויעמד יברח חירותי וימלך מלכותי, וחייכון וביומייכון ובחי בכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעלמי עולמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תאמירם בעלמה ויאמרו אמן. תקבל צלות הון ובריאות הון לכל ישראל קדם אבוכון דבשמיא ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלום רבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרמיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו amen. Please rise and turn with me to the counting of the Omer on page 732. Yesterday evening we counted 25 days, and we continue. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sefirat haomer. Hayom shisha v'esrim yom shem shlosha shavuot v'chamisha yamim la'omer. Today begins the 26th day in the counting of the Omer, which comprises 3 weeks and 5 days. Let's continue back at Aleinu on page 662. Aleinu l'shameach laton hakol latet gedula liotzer bereshit shalo asanu kidoyei haratzot velo zamanu kimishpachot hadama shalo sam chelkenu kanem v'gor aleinu kechal hamonam v'anachnu korim u'mishkachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei mamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shehuno teshamayim v'yoser haaretz u'moshav yikaro v'shamayim mima'al u'shchinatu zo v'gavhei meromim hu Eloheinu ein od emet malkeinu efesu lato kakatuv b'torato v'yadata hayom v'hashivota el levavecha ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim b'shamayim mima'al ve'al ha'aretz v'ha'aretz mitachat ein od. Okay, נקבל לך. כי המלכות שלך היא, ומעצם לך בכבוד, כך כתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו אחד.
Cantor asked me if I would like the microphone. I said, I think I can be heard in here. But then the cantor pointed out that for live stream, need the microphone. So folks, all those who are with us on Zoom, good to be together with you and to have you together with us. So as we enter into the 11th day of VR, we find ourselves observing the yurtzites, recalling the lives of and now the memories of William Janoff, dear father of Iris Siegel, Albert Certain, Michael, your dear father, father of Michael Certain, and Jeanette Tomich, Steve, your dear sister, sister of Stephen Miller. And those whom we have more recently lost, just within the last couple of weeks, Arthur Schlesinger, and then Candace Rosen, Alan Leboff, Sylvia Gingold, Ira Hirsch, Jonathan Israel, Rochelle Euknes, Stephen Weiner, Marilyn Rosenblatt, Ronnie Schlesinger, our beloved Cantor Paul, Edith Kaufman, Alan Wolf, Marvin Levy, Bernard Siegel, Edith Schulman, Gussie Chudnoff, Benjamin Hoffman, Harold Kurtz, David Aronson, Jeffrey Berlin, Mara Lipschutz, Mildred Klein, Hollis Cohen, and our dear, dear Michelle Fields. If all those who are reciting Kaddish now would rise.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון וביומי חון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה ברכו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרמיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. ברוך תהיה.
Yasher Koach, Mimi. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our annual congregational meeting. It occurred to me that this would have been my one and only opportunity to use the gavel that comes along with the job, but unfortunately I left it at home. So I remembered to park in my parking space, though. Michael, there's a couple of good perks come with the job. So with that, I would like to call this meeting of the congregation to order and say thank you to all of you here and at home. Hi, Jeff. I know you're watching me at home. To bring the meeting to order. Rabbi?
Boy, how good it is to be back in the sanctuary. How good it is. So a couple of weeks ago, we honored Roberta Gordon for Women's League for Torah Fund, and I made mention when we honored her that there is a teaching in the Talmud in Masechet Eruvin that basically teaches that when you honor somebody or when you praise somebody, that in their presence, that you only tell half of the story. You don't say everything about them, how great they are. Just say half the story. And if you want to tell the whole story, you got to ask them to walk out so they don't hear all the great things that you're saying about them. And then Rashi, hundreds of years later, he does this teaching about Noah. Remember Noah, the water, the flood? So the first verse in that parsha, it says like this in the Torah. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a fully righteous man in his generation. With God did Noah walk. And then a few verses later, God's talking to Noah. And God says to Noah, because I've seen you to be a righteous person before me in this generation. Now, if you're listening carefully, there's one word that God doesn't use. The Torah described him as being a fully righteous person. God just says, I know you're a righteous person. So Rashi, one word is not there. He's got something to teach about this. And so he says, God doesn't say to Noah that you're a fully righteous person because he doesn't want to tell the whole story. And he quotes the Talmud, Miktzat shibcho shel adam befanav, that in a person's present, you only tell a part of the story. You only tell a part of the story. Shelo befanav, but when you're not in his presence, tell the whole story. So I'm going to ask all those who we honor tonight to please walk out so that we can tell people how great you really are. So, is there any wisdom to this? I think that there is. I don't know. You tell a person the whole story, the whole geschichte, how terrific they are. They become a narcissist maybe. And of course, none of us have come across a narcissist lately. So, who could possibly become a narcissist? But it's not only the amount of praise, actually, it's the quality of the praise. Some praise is productive praise. Some praise is unproductive. And some praise is actually meaningless. So let me just tell you, some of you are still raising kids. Many of you have grandchildren now. So there was a study done at Stanford about 15 years ago that when a parent praises a child, if the child got a great mark on a test and the parent says, you're brilliant, look at you, you're brilliant, you're another Einstein, that's not productive praise. What you want to do is you want to say, it is so great that you got this grade, you worked really hard, I know how much it meant to you. And the studies actually show, in scientific studies, that the kids that are just told, you're brilliant, you're so smart, they wind up doing more poorly as time goes on. The kids who are told, I'm so proud of your accomplishment, you worked really hard, they do better. And then you have some praise that is totally meaningless. How many of you remember Stuart Smalley on daily affirmations? Huh? Some people are just too young. So, remember who played the role? Al Franken? Yeah. So, what would Stuart Smalley? He would look in the mirror and he would say, I'm good enough. I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me, right? And then he would say, I'm an attractive person. I am fun to be with. So, Stuart, keep going, because it doesn't help at all. It didn't help you, it doesn't help anyone else. You know, looking in the mirror, praising yourself, you're not going to get too far. Barbara, hi, come on in. Shara's over here. So, having said all of that, I just want to say that I am a big fan of praise. I'm a big fan of praise. I think many people, if not most people, are parsimonious with their praise. I think we don't praise people enough. You know, I think we see how good they are, but, you know, we don't really tell them. So I'm all in favor of more praise, please. And if any of you want to tell me that this was the most amazing Devar Torah you've ever heard, though it's not true, I'll be happy to hear it. More praise, please. More praise, please. But don't go overboard. So, you know, synagogues have different cultures. Synagogues have different cultures. And the synagogue culture plays out in the Congregational annual meeting. In some synagogues, the annual meeting is absolutely contentious. You know, people don't look forward to it the whole year. Or maybe some people do look forward to the whole year. There's all kinds of tension and rivalry that's going on. And it happens every year because they get together to be contentious. That's their culture. Then there's other synagogues where people come to the annual meeting because the president's there, the executive committee's there, and they complain. Anybody have anything to say? This complaint here, complaint here, complaint here. There was a cartoon in an Israeli press this past week. It was very cute. The title of it was, "Always Take the Shorter Line," right? Always take the shorter line. You know, like you're in line for something. There's one line that's a very long line. And the sign there is Telunot, which means complaints. The other line, it says Hakarat Hatov, recognizing the good. Nobody's there. You know what? Hakarat Hatov. There's goodness around. Recognize it. Praise people. Yeah. And that's who we are. That's who we are. And that's what we do at our annual meeting. People call it a love fest. What do you do at your annual meeting? Get any business accomplished? Not really. We come together to tell each other how much we love each other. Because that's our culture here at Ohev Shalom. That's our culture. So tonight you'll hear praise about people who are members of the synagogue for 18 years. You'll hear praise about people who are members of the synagogue for 36 years. Wow. And you'll hear praise about the individual this year who is receiving the Shalom Award. Whatever you hear tonight, words of praise about anyone, times it at least by 2, if not more. And then you'll know really how terrific they really are. Diane, I don't control the agenda tonight by any means, but usually the president goes right after me. So are you next on the agenda? No. So, actually, if I didn't see the agenda. So, actually, if you'll come up. You should speak before the Shalom Award. So come on up. And while Diane is coming up, let's wait for Diane to get here. Right over here, Diane. This is where you're going to stand. I'd like to invite Hetty to come up.
Ambush.
There's a whole setup.
I can tell. I don't know anything. What's going on?
Just a thing.
Oh, okay.
So, on behalf of the Board of Directors and the officers, thank you. Don't make me cry. We wanted to just show our appreciation for everything that you've done for the past 2 years. 2 years ago, when we were looking for a candidate after Dana's presidency, we all thought it should be Diane. And we approached her, and without missing a beat, she said, absolutely not. True. But after talking to her, assuring her that the board would be there and has been there and help her in any way that she needed, she said yes. And we are so thrilled that she said yes. Absolutely thrilled. So, every presidency has something that comes up that is pretty major. You were blessed with a pandemic. And not only did we make it through the pandemic, we didn't just survive, we thrived. Between your leadership, the different committees, the task force, the medical, all of the other people who came forward to help, we became the gold standard. Other synagogues were looking to us to see what we were doing. The big word in our meetings was pivot. We kept pivoting and pivoting and pivoting, and we did an incredible job under your leadership. So, in order to wrap this up, I want to say something to you from a very iconic, very famous Philadelphian, and I'm going to tweak it a little bit. Our very iconic Rocky. Yo, Diane, you did it.
Well, Hetty gave my whole speech, so this will really be brief now. Now, unfortunately, State of the Congregation will be a few minutes. It's important for you to know all the good things that other people did, not just me. So why are we here? Our bylaws require that on the second Wednesday of each May, the congregation gathers to elect board members and to receive reports from all of the committees on matters that affect the congregation. So I'm here this evening to present those reports on behalf of a number of board members who have consolidated their information. But I'm also here to thank an awful lot of people who have worked tirelessly throughout this past year on behalf of the congregation. So as Hetty mentioned, this year our clergy, our faculty, staff, lay leaders, and volunteers demonstrated they are experts when it comes to the pivot. They rode that pandemic wave and they kept everybody safe by our COVID guidelines. Throughout the entire year, we've been running parallel congregations, sometimes in person, always virtually, but always keeping everyone in mind. We returned to the synagogue for the high holidays, but when the winter surge happened with Omicron, we pivoted back to all virtual Shabbat services. But while we're continuing to broadcast to those at home, we are now back here in this sanctuary or the chapel every Friday evening and every Saturday morning for not only worship, but a little nosh and some socializing too. Our return to normal can be seen in an awful lot of other synagogue activities. Our Hebrew school children and their families have enjoyed wonderful in-person activities this year. This actually starting tomorrow night and continuing through the weekend, the Ohev players will once again entertain us. Canasta and Mahjong are returning to the synagogue. Even Percy the camel returned to Ohev to say hello to the children and to continue his bromance with Rabbi. He left the room. The joke I'm glad some of you got it, because, that camel cannot keep his lips off Rabbi Prosnod. Well, joking aside, This year also brought us a terrible tragedy, the loss of our beloved Cantor Paul. Paul Freimark's character is interwoven into our synagogue family in so many ways. As congregant, clergy, teacher, and friend, his loss will be felt by each of us for a very long time. But to paraphrase Rabbi in one of his recent Dovetail columns, comfort for our loss comes with memory and all that we shared together. So I urge you to hold on to your memories of Cantor Paul and to help us celebrate his life and his legacy on Shabbat morning, June 4th, as we dedicate in Paul's memory the lower synagogue entrance and lobby and rename it the Cantor Paul Freimark entrance and lobby. You're going to hear me thank a lot of people throughout the rest of this speech, but there are a few that need to be singled out right now for their dedication to OHEV. First, on behalf of the congregation, I want to offer our thanks and gratitude to Rabbi and to Cantor Annalise for leading the work in bringing services back to our physical campus while continuing to provide virtual worship for those who can't be with us in person. I also want to extend thanks to our Zoom masters, Hillary Lieboff, Barbara Glickman, and Idell Wood, for continuing to virtually host services and lots of other events. Thank you to our synagogue staff, Hillary Lieboff, Elizabeth Gallagher, Ruth Kresge, and especially Ellie Zamora, who officially retired in January, but whose enormous love for OHEV has kept her with us on an as-needed basis as we transition to a new outside accounting and bookkeeping firm. Thank you to all the volunteers who have given their time and energy to provide us with learning, programming, fun, and most importantly, opportunities to reach out and be part of the larger surrounding community. And we are all thankful, especially me, for our officers and board of directors for their insights, guidance, and support this past year. It has been invaluable. These individuals give so many hours of their time and service to OHEV, and usually it's behind the scenes. It's unseen, but it is greatly appreciated. While most of our board of directors is going to remain intact for the coming year, there are 3 cherished members that we're saying goodbye to. Rich Newman has served as our legal counsel throughout the entire pandemic, but he's returning to full-time growing his law practice, and he'll still remain as a member of our legal committee. Words are insufficient to express our appreciation and love for Idell Wood, who is stepping down from leading our religious and ritual committee, but will remain a mighty force within the congregation as she takes on new challenges. Idell, your love for OHEV Shalom and your guidance in all matters pertaining to ritual have deepened our lives. And even in years when we were physically separated, we have thrived spiritually, thanks in no small part to your determination to help enrich our services. I know you are. Idell's still working, she's Zooming this meeting. There's one person who's leaving the board who, in my opinion, is irreplaceable. Dana Podub has served in many lay leader capacities as a board member and an officer, and of course most recently as president and these last 2 years immediate past president. She has been fearless in taking on every challenge. She has modeled true leadership for all of us. She has been our inspiration and set the bar high for future lay leaders. Thank you, Rich, Idel, and Dana, for your service to Ohev Shalom. All right, let's get to those reports. Okay. As in any year, our children's education is a major priority for Ohev Shalom. This year saw a wonderful increase of 24 new students enrolled pre-Gon through 5th grade. It's like a real State of the Union. There's applause. I love it. And everybody's applauding. Yay, me. Okay. Our incredible education director, Barbara Glickman, has made sure our students experienced another enriching and meaningful year of Jewish education. Classes rotated between in-person and virtual learning to maximize safety for both staff and students. And staff was increased by 20% to make sure that our students were socially distanced when they were learning in person. Our children were enriched this year in so many innovative ways. Our school welcomed guest speakers, held a wide variety of in-person programs, including Ohev Teenies for families with infants and toddlers, the Lador Vador Mystery Reader, parent conversation programs on Sunday mornings with discussions and cooking demos, and artist in residence, and unique and fun celebrations of every holiday. We continue to meet our students where they are by providing additional learning support for those who took the prior year off due to COVID concerns. And 15% of our students pre-Gon through 7th grade require inclusion services, and each has been given a documented Hebrew School action plan and accommodations that are facilitated and overseen by our inclusion facilitator. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you to our teachers, to Lindsay Miller, Education Chair, and the entire Education Committee for cherishing our children, their welfare, and their education. Oh, I wasn't pausing for applause, but anytime you want to clap, go right ahead. Next time you see a flyer in the Dovetail or in Constant Contact, or you get a letter from the office, be sure to read the phrase that appears at the bottom of every synagogue communication. It reads, Ohev Shalom celebrates the uniqueness of each individual and family and welcomes diversity within our sacred community. This is much more than a tagline. It is our brand. It is who we are. We were inclusive long before it became a popular buzzword. And thanks to our Inclusion Be Kavod initiative and committee members, it is practiced in every way and every day at Ohev Shalom. Inclusion Be Kavod focuses on making sure that all of our educational, spiritual, social, celebratory, and life events enable everyone to feel welcome, accepted, and able to participate meaningfully. This year was no exception. Celebrations at Ohev, Inclusion Shabbat, and targeted programming for students and families created amazing opportunities for all of our children. Accessibility is a major goal for inclusion. Thanks to inclusion, this year closed captioning has been added to Zoom, which greatly enhances the experience for many, especially those with auditory challenges. And Inclusion is currently working with the building committee and with clergy on 2 other accessibility projects. One, to identify options for making a more permanent and safe ramp to the bima. This thing is rickety. We're making it better. And we're exploring access to the 2nd floor of the East Wing for those who are unable to use the stairs. So stay tuned for more information on those. Our buildings continue to age, but thanks to the tender, loving care of Mark Kolber and Al Torshman, who personally perform much of the work needed and supervise the rest, our infrastructure is in good shape for the coming year. A number of campus improvements have allowed us to achieve savings, especially with respect to utilities costs. Working with our Green Committee, Mark and Al negotiated a PICO subsidy program that will result in substantial savings because we've now replaced all of the non-LED lighting with LED tubes and fixtures throughout most of the campus. Improvements were also made outdoors. The entire back lot was repaved and outdoor lighting was repaired and upgraded. To maintain the safest environment for our congregants, a new air filtration system was installed right before the high holidays here in the sanctuary and in the social hall. There's a new HD camera here in the sanctuary to increase the resolution of live stream broadcasts. We're currently working on adding broadcasts from the chapel, from the ATM chapel. We've got upgraded Wi-Fi, and Cantor got a high quality wireless mic, and we also have installed our second distance Aliyah mic for here near the Torah table. The list goes on and on, but I don't want to lose you because I got a rhythm going here. So the last one that I'm going to tell you about is the East Wing. The East Wing is the new name for our original building, which faces 2nd Street Pike. And it has been reclaimed, and beautiful new vinyl floors and new paint have transformed the 2nd floor. Cantor and Hillary now have their offices there, and the multi-purpose room has been renamed Founders Hall and is available for events, meetings, and to handle the overflow from our school. So please stop by and say hello to Cantor and Hillary. In a year that saw horrific increases in anti-Semitism, we are so grateful to Michael Zimmett, who as a volunteer has overseen all of our security. We continue to take steps to improve OHEB's overall security and safety. This past year, these improvements included improved outdoor lighting, additional surveillance cameras to provide more complete coverage of the facility, 3M safety security film for all the large glass windows in the building, and upgrading our first aid equipment to include Stop the Bleed kits. In addition, we've started professional security training for our clergy and staff, and we'll be rolling out additional security training programs for our teaching staff and for our congregants between now and the high holidays. We have also started work on developing a new emergency response plan for the synagogue with the assistance of Cardinal Point, our security firm. Once again, this year, as he did last year, Mike has secured 2 security grants that will help pay for several important improvements over the coming months. Of all the security enhancements we've been able to complete in the last 6 years, almost 85% has been paid for with government and private grants. Your security surcharge has also helped us by underwriting our excellent guard protection for services, school, and other events. But we are facing the challenge of fully underwriting our highest priority security needs going forward, which include replacing our aging alarm and fob systems. Attracting and retaining members is, of course, the most significant piece of our revenue stream. Thanks to Membership Chair Bonnie Globerman, Barbara Glickman, and the entire membership committee, our membership has remained stable this past year. Our membership committee is already planning a new recruitment drive, and we hope for a strong push for new members in the coming months, starting actually on Sunday at the Jewish Festival, We have a mighty team of volunteers who will be there recruiting, we hope. Despite a vigorous campaign, this year's annual appeal fell short of its modest budgeted goal. And due to the need to pivot back and forth from in-person to virtual, fundraising has been minimal. However, careful fiscal managing and savings achieved through grants and cost-saving initiatives have allowed us to remain on track. As our fiscal year doesn't end until June 30th, we don't yet have a complete financial picture, but we are confident that we will meet our financial obligations for the year. The officers and the board have reviewed the financial picture for the current year, and based on that made projections for next year, and those numbers have been presented to you in the form of the 2022-23 budget. We believe this budget will realistically carry us forward, but we will continue to watch over our finances and manage our resources carefully in the coming year. As in every year, this coming year we will be relying on your dues and tuition payments and your generosity to help us meet our operating expenses. We thank each and every one of you for your continued support and dedication. But we understand that many families may still face difficulties in the coming year, and we will work with all who need our help. No member is ever turned away because of financial challenges. Now, I just have 2 paragraphs to go, and Donna told me not to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway, because heck, it's my last hurrah. Are there any questions? Jan.
How many members do we have right now?
In terms of what we call member units, because that could be a family or it could be a single person, we have approximately 430, and that number has remained somewhat stable. When people leave, we're getting new people in. It's in reality, when we count up all the adult members, it's something like 735. But that's been a stable number for a number of years now. Okay, I see no more hands. Idell, anybody chat up a question? Oh, okay, I got away easy this year, okay. All right, well, as you already heard, this month marks my departure from the presidency. Even though the pandemic was in full swing with a lockdown when I took office in May 2020, none of us could have imagined what the next 2 years would look like. Words like virtual and Zoom weren't familiar to most of us, and "you're on mute" was yet to be incorporated as a cultural reference. But here we are 2 years later. We are strong and resilient and returning to our physical campus to once again worship, learn, socialize, and kibitz with each other. I want to end by thanking our clergy, faculty, staff, and lay leaders who have helped and supported me and who have worked tirelessly these past 2 years to ensure that OHEV ran smoothly and, as Hetty said, thrived despite the circumstances. Most importantly, besides thank you, Jeff, for putting up with me for 2 years. He's a saint. Thanks to each of you for making the last 2 years an incredible experience for me. Despite the challenges that came with the pandemic, we have all pulled together to demonstrate our love for the synagogue and for each other. Please stay safe, be well, and thank you so much for your continued support of OHEV Shalom.
I made mention earlier of the program that we had honoring Roberta Gordon by Women's League and Torah Fund. And every year when we have that program, we have a speaker who is a student at JTS, Jewish Theological Seminary, and someone who is studying to become a rabbi. And every year that we have this speaker, different speaker every year, I am amazed by their qualifications and their bio and how many different life experiences they had. But it's kind of interesting that I think just about all of them that we've had, I don't think one of them intends to become a congregational rabbi. And the speaker that we had this year, she was talking about setting up summer camps and camps throughout the year and becoming a entrepreneurial rabbi, which is a whole new thing that is very hot these days. And then somebody asked her, do you think you might ever become a congregational rabbi? And basically she kind of said, well, never say never, but who knows? So the last time we had a speaker who was in the same category, I got her email address and sent her a note. And I spared this speaker this year from getting a note from me. But what I would say in the note is that, yes, there are many ways of being a rabbi. Being a congregational or a pulpit rabbi is not the only way. But there are certain things that a congregational rabbi has that a teacher doesn't have it, someone who does new programming for newly affiliated Jews doesn't have it, and that is developing relationships over the course of time. And I'm all about long-term relationships. And if you stick around long enough, you get to see the kids who you even named grow up in the synagogue, celebrate their bar and bat mitzvah, confirmation, and officiating at their wedding, and naming their children. So, I can't imagine that, there's anything that can take that place. Because for me, those long-term relationships have been the sweetest part of my rabbinate here. When you have a history with someone, you share something, it doesn't get any better. So our tradition, it's also our culture, to talk about those long-term relationships and to honor those who have been members of the synagogue for, 18 years and then 36 years. And it's not only having the relationship, but knowing their commitment to the synagogue, their commitment to Judaism, their caring for the synagogue, their support of the synagogue. Way past other families say, well, we don't need the synagogue anymore, we don't need it. They know that in ways they need it, but even more importantly, they know that the synagogue needs them, and we do. It's mutual. So I have the greatest affection and gratitude for those who are members of our synagogue, both 36 years, which we'll get to in a moment, and 18 years. So I'd like to show you this certificate. If you look at it and you say, wow, that's beautiful. Oh, of course it's beautiful. It's made by our artist laureate, Arlene Freimark. So, just so I don't know if you can actually see it, but here's the dove, our symbol, and here is a chuppah, like we are married to each other in some way, and it's also a chet and a yud for chai, for life, right? So let me announce the names of all those who are getting this certificate this year. I guess the answer is you, Diane. Okay, no, I was just going to ask, is anyone so designated? And then I see you're all set to go. Great, thanks. Yeah, it'll be great. So even if they're not here, I want to honor Sylvia Stern, dear member. You heard his name mentioned before tonight, and his name is mentioned again and again and again. We cannot be thankful enough, and that is Marcia and Michael Azimet. Michael, come on up. Stay right here. Yeah, that's so tough. Yeah, stay here, Mark. Alyssa and Ken Goldberg, who could not be here tonight, but they'll be here next Friday night, and I told them I'll save this for them. Kim and Ron Cutler, who were not able to be here tonight, and Robin and Mark Levine. You know what, Robin and Mark, before you come up, I just want to tell a little story if I could. You were one of the, I wish there were more, but you were one of the rare congregants that called me once, Mark, when you first joined. And you said, you know what, we'd like to come in and just so we can get to know each other. And you came into my office, of course, this is 18 years ago, right? 18 years ago. And one of the things you said to me at the time was that how much it means to you that when you walked into your own synagogue where you grew up, that you could always catch the rabbi's eye, and he would smile when he saw you. I didn't have to work at that, Mark, because I see you and Robin, and I smile. You're both terrific individuals. So here we are. Could you believe it? Here we are, 18 years later. Robin and Mark Levine, come on up. Michael, I think we'll come down here. So while our tradition has been to give a certificate to those 18 years, and you know the number 18 is high, we traditionally give a book to those who are members for 36 years. So you might say, well, why 36 years? Of course, it's double high. But there's actually even a deeper meaning to the 36, because according to our tradition, there is what is known as the Lamed Vavniks. Lamed Vavniks. Lamed Vav are two Hebrew letters, and you know every Hebrew letter has a numerical equivalent. Lamed stands for 30. Vav stands for 6. A Lamed Vavnik is someone who is connected to 36. And the Kabbalistic teaching in our tradition is that there are 36 anonymous tzaddikim. There are 36 righteous in the world. So righteous that the world survives because of them. Who are they? If you're going to be that righteous, you don't publicize it, and you're anonymous. Who knows? You know? Well, in our own way here in Ohev Shalom, when someone is a member for 36 years, while the Lamed Vavniks sustain the world, our Lamed Vavniks sustain our synagogue and are worthy of special recognition. So we go back to the 1980s together, and each book is inscribed, "Dear," whoever is receiving it, with great appreciation to you for maintaining our synagogue these past 36 years and into the future, Todah. So I think I might have this in alphabetical order, maybe not, but we'll see. So First, Anne Berlin, to you and to Jeffrey, a blessed memory. Yours says, with great appreciation to you and Jeffrey. Yeah. You know, I know what Anne is thinking right now. Anne is thinking, I need another book like I need a Lochencup. Anne's husband, Jeffrey, was really a fine scholar, And his library was overflowing with books. And many have been the beneficiaries of those books, but especially the Hebrew University. And you are having a dedication ceremony.
The National Library of Israel.
National Library of Israel, yeah. It's really something, yeah. And it's both because of the books and because of the reputation of the scholar who owned those books. So you got a lot of stuff to read at home. But I just want to show you that for a number of years, we were getting a very beautiful, like, coffee table book that nobody ever is going to open up, and da-da-da. Sometimes we got scholarly kind of books. But I've heard only great things about this book. It's called Typically Jewish. It's tremendously informative, but also a little bit on the lighter side. And I just want to read to you what the chapters are. Chapter 1, worrying. Chapter 2, kvelling. Okay, chapter 3 we could do without, dying. Chapter 4, noshing. Chapter 5, laughing. Chapter 6, detecting. Chapter 7, dwelling. And chapter 8, joining. What it means to be typically Jewish. So, thank you, Anne. Thank you so much. Thank you. There you are. When we first started here at Ohev Shalom, my rabbi would call me every now and then, Rabbi Chazen. And he loved to hear that we were growing and growing and growing and growing. And he said to me on many occasions, he said, that's not what's happening with us. He said, we're experiencing the three aways. People are fading away, people are moving away, and people are passing away. So, right. So one of the ways that we lose members is when people move away. And some people move to Florida, and some still keep a kind of membership. We have a number of families that have moved downtown Philadelphia, and it's too far for them. But not the Rosens, Andy and Shelley. There you are, downtown, enjoying Center City life and all that it has to afford, culturally and great restaurants, but this is your home. And you're back here, and Shelley, you read Torah, and tomorrow night the play in which you're so involved starts. You got to see it. You got to see it. Oi, I have tickets for tomorrow, or a ticket for tomorrow night. So, yeah, you got to see it. So, Andy and Shelley. You'll notice at the back of the book, there's also a part for discussion groups. So maybe we'll get together and we'll discuss it. So we're going to keep it in the family now. So Anne's sister, Carol, and brother-in-law, Mitchell and Carol. Mitchell is coming back on the board as our counsel, which he was a number of years ago, about 20 years ago, Mitch, 25 years ago, yeah. Carol is our social action chairperson, dedicated to that work. Mitchell and Carol. Thanks, Carol. This one is written in a very formal way. Dear Avram and Paula, Avi and Paula, for 36 years. Come on up. So I got to tell you, there was something that started today. Some of you were there. Something started today in the synagogue. At 9:30 this morning at the municipal park over there at Hatboro in Bristol, we had a group getting together at 9:30 this morning walking. And I thought, wow, you know, how nice. That's such a nice thing to do. We'll walk and smell the roses and look at butterflies and talk to each other. And this was all put together by Barbara. So, like, nobody shot off a gun, but, like, boom. And these people started, wow, like, walking out of the gate. I couldn't believe it. So, and then after we walked around once, they said, let's do it again. And then after we got back from twice, then Nina and a couple of others said, wait, I didn't do we did like 2 miles, and you do 5 miles every day. So she said, come on, let's keep going. It's very impressive, and now I have something to work on. I don't know if I'll ever keep up with you guys, but I'll get closer. So, but it was great. So 9:30 next Wednesday at the playground and at the park. Yeah, so join us. It'll be great. It was great. So, why am I talking about you like that, Nina? Because the next one goes to Michael and Nina Certain. Come up front. We're going to take a picture. Is that how you do it? And now for the crescendo of the night, we are presenting the Shalom Award, which is sitting and resting right here. And the recipient of this year's Shalom Award, I'm really very, very, very happy to say, is Al Torsman, right over there. You might as well sit down. I have something else to say. So. There are 2 reasons why we're honoring you, Al. One is that you're super, super, super deserving. And the other is, as of maybe about a half hour from now, you will no longer be eligible to receive the Shalom Award because you will be a member of the Board of Directors, and board members are never given the Shalom Award. So we figured, and we hope you stay on the board for, So the feeling was that you are the recipient of the Shalom Award this year. I will literally, with Al, only offer no more than half of the praise that you are due, Al, for a couple of reasons. First of all, I think you may be the only member of the congregation, or at least one of a few, that I have actually dedicated a dovetail article to. And I wrote a dovetail article some years ago, a couple of years ago, not that long ago, about you, because I was just so moved and inspired by the volunteer work that you do, hands-on work here in the synagogue. At that time, you were still working your regular professional life, and it's only blossomed more and more and more since you retired from that work. So let me just tell you a few things about Al. I'm not going to repeat anything that was in that dovetail. That's why, before you leave tonight, if you can start walking into the Atikva Montefiore Chapel, and if somebody can make sure the lights are on over there, because Mimi, you once said to me, you said, it doesn't look right here. The books are all, they're on a table. That doesn't look nice. So you planted an idea that we have a beautifully designed and a beautiful bookshelf, which is there now. You really ought to see it. It's something. And Al, that would not have happened without you, because I came to a few of the meetings, and you were really the important person at the meeting, because you knew all of the meanings of those drafts, and when things needed to be changed for this reason and that reason. So it really was a composite work of you and the company that we commissioned to do the work. That was one of the things. I'll also ask you that when you leave tonight, make sure that you turn your head to the right, and you will see the new cabinet, or the reframed cabinet, that houses our Holocaust Torah. For close to 38 years, that Torah has sat in our own Aron Kodesh. So it was there, but no one ever got to really see it. So we had the idea that we wanted to make a permanent home where people could see that Torah. And when you look at it, you'll say to yourself, yeah, it was done just right. Wasn't so easy. A lot of thinking and measuring and what kind of materials. And when it came to colors, we consulted Sarah, in her own right, an interior decorator. And Al, you weren't only a craftsman doing that work. It was a work of love. I know it. It was a work of love and sanctity. It was holy work that you were going to create this cabinet that was going to house our Holocaust Torah. And when you see it out, please look at it tonight. It is really thanks to you, Al. It's thanks to you. Diane already said so beautifully the two new offices in the East Wing, Cantor's office and Hillary's office. But thank you, Diane, for saving this part for me. Thank you. Because those offices are recently painted by Al. And Cantor has beautiful bookcases there. I didn't know you had that many books. But, you had the books to fill up the cases. And I saw Al painting each and every shelf of those books, again, with so much care and wanting it to be just right. And in one of the offices, you put molding, or what do you call that molding, Al? What is it called? Crown molding? Chair. Yeah, so it's chair rail molding, but also there's parts where, it goes in a square, and that took you hours and hours to do. So then Al said to me, you know what? I think I'd like to do that in the Founders Hall. Really? After all these hours you put in here? So he did it in a corner of the room where it wouldn't be too conspicuous. And then Al said to me, what do you think? I was blown away. So, you really should go upstairs tonight before you leave No, I'm not kidding. Because we have not been in Founders Hall for years. You really should go up. And I left all the lights on. And so maybe, Hillary, you'll check later that no one told the lights off, because you should walk in there. It's all new lighting, as was mentioned, and it's really a beautiful space. The next thing we have to do is have the floor redone, and hopefully that's going to happen fairly soon. And we need, as Diane said before, we need to have it accessible to anyone that can walk or can't walk the steps. Anyhow, you really ought to see it tonight. And that's that. And then talking about making it accessible, we've been talking about two things, either a ramp or a lift. Al, when you took a couple of minutes off from doing the painting, you actually kind of like drew the blueprints of how a lift could be fitted into that space. And you became our spokesperson when we met with the company. How much you've done is just, and then you're a Torah reader, and you read the Megillah. You're now taking a position on the board as its finance chair, right? Yeah. And you know what? You are just one of the nicest, sweetest person that anyone can possibly meet. And to know you is really a joy and an honor. You are a very, very special person. I just want to also make mention is Mark is inside. Hey, Mark, you can hear me. Oh, by the way, talking about hearing, yeah, come on out, Mark. I want to say something, so I want you to hear it. I just want to say, Diane, though I had walked out, I heard every word that you said, and I just want to say I have to confess that my relationship with the camel is, I have to confess this because it's true, it's mutual. Yeah. You know, just seeing Percy again was like, you know, you never forget the time when you kiss your first camel. And yeah. So, Mark, really, when we talk about the work that Al does, it's so much in many of the things that you do, it's the work that the two of you do together. When you, and Diane said this, I'm just going to repeat it, when you yourselves changed all of the lighting in the Rothman Family School building from the lighting that was in there and both upgraded it, and part of our program to make Ohev Shalom green, you changed it all into LED lighting. That was work that you did together. You climbed the ladder and you did it. Mark, you have your own set of expertise, which is, you know, sound, audio, and the camera here, and other things that you do that is your expertise, things that you do, Al, that are your expertise, but you've been working together as a team.
Also dynamic duo.
The dynamic duo, right, dynamic duo. Right. So, so our thanks to you, Mark, our thanks to you. And so, Al, it is really our joy to present to you tonight the Ohev Shalom Shalom Award. I also want to make mention, of course, Sarah's here, but Michael and Liz, Michael grew up here at Ohev Shalom, bar mitzvah here, and I've met with Michael and Liz virtually so far, but we'll get together actually in person. I'll be having the honor of officiating at their upcoming wedding in a matter of months. So mazel tov, and great that you're here to honor Dad. Diane, can we just get a picture over here? And, you know what, Al, come on over here. And then, Sarah, could you come up and join us for a picture in the room?
So thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Diane, for the very kind words. The award portion of the program is going really well. Nobody's been slapped in spite of the joke about the camel. Thank you again. Thank you, everyone. There's a couple things I'm going to just mention. First, I would be remiss if I didn't thank Mark Kohlberg, as Rabbi did, the building committee chair, for all the work he does here and the many, many projects that we do together. In many projects, he's the brains behind them. What I want to say about the work that I do at OHEV is that I not only get the satisfaction of completing an improvement or a repair for OHEV, but I get tremendous self-reward of working on such holy projects, like working on the display for the Torah saved from the Holocaust that the rabbi mentioned, or working on the design of the bookshelf at the entrance of the chapel. In the past 2 years, when almost no one was coming to the synagogue except for essential maintenance staff, I got to be here, spend a lot of time at OHEV during the first year of the pandemic, when hardly anyone was going anywhere. I got to be here in the sanctuary, working at the Ark here with the Holocaust Torah. I got to spend many weeks and hours in the sanctuary handling this sacred scroll, to get measurements, to try to different prototypes for the brackets, for the different paint colors, all the different schemes and other things. So thank you very much for this award, and thank you, OHEV, for being my community. Thank you.
And Al, just if you need any help hanging it, we help you out a little bit.
Well, it's almost over. I think it's been a wonderful, wonderful congregational meeting. I would just like to say to the present board, please stay here in the sanctuary. We have a quick 5-minute meeting. We have to take care of one last piece of business. It is my job as the head of the nominating committee to let you know about the votes. We had 130 congregants voting. Thank you very much to all of you who took the time to vote for the slate of officers and for the budget. Out of those 130 congregants who voted, all of you voted unanimously to accept the slate of new board members, which will be led by Michael Goldstein. And Mike, it's going to be a tough job to follow everything that Diane did for us, but I can assure you that those of us on the board will continue to give you the support and dedication that we gave to her and to Dana before. On the item of the budget, of the 130 people who voted, 124 voted in favor of the budget, 4 voted against the budget, and there was 1 abstention. That being said, both the slate of officers and the budget passes for the new year 2022 to 23. Diane, Rabbi, anything else?
Just please join us in social for some nosh. Right after the meeting is done. Except for my daughter, thank you for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, good night, everyone, and thank you very much for being here tonight.